I'm going to have to start again. Well, you all get the call from the start. Sorry for everybody that was here. Let's go back to July to now. Doing a call close to an eclipse, right after a reading with Mercury retrograde coming as well. I knew doing 3 calls today was too much, really, but never mind. I'd already booked this, and then 2 people booked readings, so I should have blocked out the whole day. But anyway, it's fine. I have a chance to rest before the next. I know you've heard it though, and you get the recordings in the group too, so you're lucky too. So anyway, I'm going to start again the key days just to record them. Obviously, the eclipse tomorrow is a key day for this month. Oh my goodness, this is kind of a huge eclipse. You know, we don't have total solar eclipses that often. The last one was August 21st, 2017. Major for everybody. I'll share the screen again. And so that was just, well, it was absolutely huge for me. But that one was at the end of Leo. And so this one is in Cancer, very different feel. We've had the same themes going over and over about, you know, moving towards protectionism and safety, but hopefully moving towards compassion, love, caring, nurturing. There's a real feeling of closing in. I was telling people that, you know, closing in to those that you really care for, closing in on your home too, wanting to stay home more, definitely all of that kind of stuff. But this is a total solar eclipse. We do have an annular solar eclipse on December the 26th. They are kind of like total solar eclipses, but the moon is nearer to the Earth on an annular one. So it doesn't completely cover the disk of the sun. There's a bigger ring around it on an annular. But in effect, we do have 2 solar eclipses in a row. So that's kind of huge. And that one will be at 4 degrees Capricorn, almost the opposite point of this one. This one is 10 degrees, as I said. It's next to the North Node. So it's really, wherever this is in your chart is really what's being affected, okay? But overall, generally, we're kind of being pulled from a focus on like the outer world and work, on achievement, on building, on doing all the time, to being more nurturing, caring, you know, looking after the home, looking after each other, remembering we're all one big family, all that kind of thing. I did mention, you know, mine is in my 7th house of significant relationships. Interestingly, old friends have been to visit. I've had 3 lots of visitors in the last 2 months, one Australia and from England. And so it's been about those relationships for me. This, if you've read my article today, this is all happening on the cusp of my eclipse baby's 9th house. She was born just before the eclipse at this same spot 19 years ago. Because she's just had her birthday. And so she was born just 10 days before. And she had a difficult teenagehood, and she hasn't gone to college yet. I'm wondering, because 9th house is higher education, if this will bring her to consider doing school to kind of look after her future safety, because she's very Cancer. She likes to save money and build, and wants to focus on building a career and all that kind of stuff. So you get the idea of how these eclipses can affect you. It's you know, a real kind of reset in that area, a new start. So I'm really feeling the pull to focus more on my significant relationships and those who truly matter to me. Just before the eclipse, Mars moves into Leo. That's later today, though, here in the USA. And we'll start to catch up with Mercury, who is stationing to go retrograde. So tomorrow, very big day with the eclipse, of course. I think I'm just going to send this link for the meeting. I'm just going to tell her the clickable one. There we go. All right. Oh, Mercury retrograde and all those things. It's kind of making me laugh, actually, that trying to do a calls on eclipses and things. I'm like, what am I doing? Okay, so that was the one major day. Then we go, the time we enter the time between eclipses then. And I did mention as well, to go back to this, that the eclipse really is kind of connected to all these planets around 10 degrees. And I don't think I mentioned that the 17 degrees, because some astrologers count the eclipse from the nodes. And I don't know if I completely agree, but I'll get to the moon wobble that I talked about already. I'll talk about it again. It is a significant spot, of course. So really, this whole eclipse spans this whole area in degrees, 10 to 17. So really, if you've got anything from about 8 to about 19, particularly of these cardinal signs, that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, you're going to be very strongly affected. Okay. Mercury on the 8th. So we enter this kind of in-betwixt time. Things get a bit weird. Saturn exactly conjuncts the South Node, but Saturn is on the releasing end of the eclipse. We're really being asked to give up this attachment to being human doings instead of human beings, because too many of us are just busy working all the time. Yeah, the nodes are also always exactly opposite each other. The North Node 17 degrees, South Node 17 degrees. They're always exactly opposite. Yeah. So yeah, the South Node is Saturn is conjunct the South Node on the eclipse. I think we're being asked to. Saturn in Capricorn is very diligent, very dependable, but also very attached to authority and the rules, and living by, this is how it's always been done. I really think we're being asked to say, cut that out and let go of that attachment to those rules. Focus on what really matters: the love, the compassion, the family, whoever you. Of course, July the 4th, 2 days after the eclipse, the sun will be on the USA's sun. So we're really saying this eclipse is on the USA's sun. This is really kind of huge. So, but as I was saying before, I forgot to record, I got accused of linking everything to the USA. But the fact is, the USA's chart is being affected a lot by the astrology of these eclipses. So it's hard not to. July the 8th or July the 7th in some places. I'm just going to go forward by an hour. Mercury will turn retrograde at 4 degrees and 27 minutes of Leo. And Mars will be conjuncted. As I was saying before I forgot to record, this is a very volatile day, or this whole period actually, because then Mars and Mercury will meet on the 8th. It depends where you are for the dates, so don't get too attached. It's going to be building up to it. It seems like fuck that shit, get the fuck out of my face, I'm going home. Well, I think that's this pre-eclipse feeling right now. But I agree too. It's like shut them out, shut out people who tell you what to do, and people who are trying to control as well. That's the other side of it. So yeah, Barbara, yeah, irritable. That's fine. I don't mind. You know, I swear a lot. But anyway, I do think this period around the 8th, 9th, 10th of July is very, very volatile. We have Mercury just stationed retrograde, Mars heading towards it fast. Both, Mars will head to an exact square with Uranus. Chiron in Aries is also affected. So we can kind of see as they shift over the next couple of days. Mercury turns retrograde there. The next day, the two of them meet exactly. Then Mars goes on to aspect Chiron or Chiron, whichever you call it. And then Mars will square Uranus. So really, 7th to the 11th, it's really kind of a bit explosive. I don't always keep my back scratcher with me. Nothing wrong with being prickly sometimes, to be honest. You know, I think we try to, well, whatever. But anyway, I do think that time from, nice heirloom, and very Cancerian, because ancestors and things, mothers. So very eclipse, very of the eclipse. There you go. So yeah. So as I was saying, the whole period really from the 7th to the 11th is really kind of a crazy time. I'll go back a day because I forgot to mention the moon wobble here as well. When the sun hits the north node is called the moon wobble. It's the middle point of the eclipses. So that's happening in the middle of all this Mars, Mercury, Uranus, Chiron stuff. Chiron is a lovely thing to study. You know, it's both the wound and the key to healing, but I also associate it very much. It always feels a bit anxious to me, a bit fritzy. Uranus as well is very fritzy because it rules Aquarius. It's very shocking and very like kind of all over the place, but also very making the big connections. This all feels very especially coming after the USA's birthday, just going back to that USA. We've had the 4th of July, you know, we go kind of back to work on the 8th after the holiday, and then we have all this stuff happening over that period. I don't know what's going to be coming out of people's mouths, what's going to be said. There's possible, I have to say, there's possibilities of violence, hopefully most of it verbal, with Mercury there. I think because it's the Mercury station as well, some old stuff is going to come up and be triggered as well. The moon wobble in the middle of the eclipses is also very kind of volatile time because we're going from the new moon eclipse to the full moon eclipse in this case, halfway in between, on the first quarter moon as well. This period is looking kind of challenging, particularly for, you know, areas around 4 or 5 degrees of the fixed signs. And the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And then the cardinal signs as well, the 17-degree mark, particularly of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, are going to all be affected. But the more kind of challenging energy is with the fixed signs, because fixed signs like things to be fixed. They don't like being forced or being pushed to change by outside forces. And this is bringing change from outside forces. So it's kind of an uncomfortable time, this period in July. So, if you mark things on your calendars, I'm not saying live in fear, don't be in fear, but I mentioned an astrologer before I forgot to record that I follow, and she gave good advice that it's not to hide. Though in Cancer, it's maybe stay home more, maybe just keep your head down and don't get involved in the fray, and also, maybe because Mercury is just going retrograde, yes, practice the pause. And the pause in life, if you don't have to start new things, maybe don't start them yet. I'm not saying stop living, because go back to my Mercury retrograde rant, it goes, you can't stop living for that. You can't stop living for any of the energies. But this is a month to maybe focus on, on family, home, doing nice things, spending time in the garden, not pushing that in that outer world. Practice the pause in life generally, just in the way of not pushing to do things, okay? And just do your daily stuff. Just focus on looking after things, caring, love, that kind of thing, okay? Because it's not easy. I'm kind of glad I forgot to record, because I also forgot to mention that Chiron goes retrograde on the 9th as well. So he's stationed in all this energy as well. So we've got the Mercury station on the 7th. We've got Chiron station on the 9th. We've got the moon wobble on the 10th. We've got Mercury and Mars conjunct on the 8th. It's all kind of very together. It's very tense, and just take care of it. Yeah, it's kind of a very and the between eclipse time is always weird anyway. I have to say, we're kind of coming to terms with what's happened especially after a total solar eclipse, and then the most intense period will end on the full moon eclipse. But this period from tomorrow to the 16th is kind of crazy, to be quite honest. Also on the 9th of July, the sun will oppose Saturn, but that's kind of happening with the moon wobble and all that kind of stuff. So you should feel comfortable. You love weird. Depends how it's affecting your chart though, really, doesn't it? So if you could step out of, the fear, because there is fear in this. The shadow of Capricorn is definitely fear. And Cancer can be very fearful. The USA is a Cancer country, and it's very fearful about attacks on its freedom and all that kind of stuff. It's very protective and very jingoistic, if you like. Yeah, can be healing or releasing. So, but just be warned. Keep your head down a little bit over this time. The 11th, Mars exactly squares Uranus, so I think I mentioned that already as well. So that's kind of crazy as well. But moving on from that period, look for humor. Humor's healing and releasing, but also just I feel a real urge to stay home, do some yard work, make my house feel good, you know, spend time with my family. What's wrong with that? It's summer, do that. Don't. One thing's for sure, though, I hate fireworks anyway, so it's no big problem for me. And my dogs hate the fireworks too, so I stay home. I won't be going anywhere on 4th of July. I'm staying home. It doesn't feel good to me, personally. So I'm staying home with my family. It's not my holiday anyway, so there you go. Even though I'm American now, I was British by birth. You were getting rid of us. So on the 14th, moving on a bit, the sun opposes Pluto. I actually kind of think, you know, coming on the back of all this other energy, I said before, it feels like the least stressful of any of these stressful things. It is in, and I forgot to mention, it's kind of in a wide T-square to Pallas Athena. That's, you know, usually a real shifting time. Pluto has been excavating stuff that's not working for ever since he moved into Capricorn. The sun is going to shine the light on something, I think, on that day, and reveal more stuff. It could be, you know, somebody else, some other man who's been, you know, abusing women or that kind of stuff. Something will be revealed. 16th is the 16th is the lunar eclipse, 24 degrees of Capricorn. Okay. And it's coming right after the monthly occultation of Saturn and Pluto that's happening every year this year. And that in itself is really unusual. An occultation is like a mini eclipse because from our perspective, the moon is covering Saturn and Pluto. You know, if you had a telescope, you would not be able to see Saturn and Pluto for that moment that the moon is covering it. I think officially it has to be in the southern hemisphere for these occultations to be exact, but it's still feeling the effect anywhere. And, you know, of course, all this energy in Capricorn is causing all this difficult year overall. It's the main thing that's causing it. And then we have a full moon eclipse. And we all know what full moon energy is like anyway. Very heightened, but it's the releasing, and it's on the releasing end because it's on the south node in Capricorn. So it's going to be a kind of a big ending to this eclipse portal, the 2 weeks from the beginning to end, with the occultation and then the full moon at 24 degrees of Capricorn. Okay. If we can see, of course, you know, it's all conjunctions. I forgot to mention as well that it's going to be squaring Eris, my lovely Eris that I love. She's going to be shaking the apple in. You could also say really it's a bit of a cardinal, a bit of a square, not quite, because these two are too far apart from being exactly opposite, Pallas Athena and Eris, but it's definitely shaking things up a bit again. I don't see it as quite as volatile as that other period with Mars involved. Eris is a little bit more benign. She's a little bit more, let's see how we can challenge the facade here and really kind of shake things up a little bit. Astrologically, she seems a little bit more kinder. She is, of course, the sister of Mars, but in some of the stories, but she did delight in bloodshed in the myth, in the battlefield, but only kind of when she felt it was deserved. So kind of a little bit like, yeah, they got theirs kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, the full moon eclipse, it's pretty big as well, because square to Eris, and with all this all together, Venus there, it's going to kind of affect our relationships, but it's kind of an ongoing theme. It's just more releasing of this old stuff out there, and releasing of, like you said, where is it? Get out of my face, I'm going home. Yes, it's that nobody tell me what to do kind of thing. Definitely that kind of thing. 17th of July, I did forget to mention that, talking of energy changing directions, Ceres changes. She goes direct. She's been retrograde quite a while. She goes direct at the anaretic degree of Sagittarius. So she is going to kind of, she's grief and things, but she, and the natural harvest and cycles. So, and in Sagittarius, that's right, natural law, you know, like the natural laws of the universe. So she's going to be kind of going forward in that. I kind of feel like after this full moon eclipse, things are really going to move forward a bit, even with Mercury retrograde. You know, Mercury retrograde goes retrograde so often. So, on again. Really wish I hadn't forgotten to record, because my mouth's going dry now. I'm going to have a drink in a second. Okay, so Mercury on the 19th moves back into Cancer, starts to retrace his steps. Things will start to come up from June, when Mercury was going through, earlier in June, when Mercury was going through Cancer. Also, you know, we'll be reflecting kind of thing on all this stuff that's gone on with these eclipses, because Mercury is going to start moving back to the degrees of the eclipses. All right. On the 21st, we have Cazimi, Mercury and the Sun together. It's actually at 28 degrees of, or is it a little bit more? There we go. That's called Cazimi. 21st of July is the best day in the Mercury retrograde. Can I say one word of Black Moon Lilith on 17 degrees Capricorn? Black Moon Lilith isn't in Capricorn. She's in Pisces. So could you elaborate? Because she's way out of Capricorn. Over here. Oh, no, I'm not doing personal readings. Sorry. They were available for $15, but I'm not doing personal readings on these calls. I do enough for free. So, sorry. So anyway, Cazimi is the heart of Mercury retrograde, and that's the sweet spot in the middle of a retrograde. Okay, that's when the sun is shining her light on all things of the mind and communication. It's the best day to sign contracts. If you must buy a new computer in the middle of Mercury retrograde, it's not a simple question to answer anyway, Laurie. That's why you can't just say one word, because it depends where it is in your chart and the aspects and things like that. Doomed. Barbara says doomed. No. Anyway. But yeah, 21st, Cazimi. I know you were just kidding. Barbara's kids a lot, Laurie. So yeah, you know, Cazimi is the sweet spot. It's fine. It's fine, Laurie. I just have to explain it, why it's not that. I can't do it just like that. So okay. But anyway, yeah, if you want to buy a computer or whatever, do it on Cazimi. the 21st. That's the sweet, nice day in the middle of all of this. Okay. On the 23rd, the sun enters Leo. And that, to my mind, that's when the summer, height of summer begins. I was saying in England, we used to have what we call factory fortnight, 2 weeks, the last week in August, last week in July, first week in August. Factories used to shut down in England and everybody had their vacations. Okay. And so it's time to play and start having some fun. Okay, and just lighten up a bit, because this year has been really heavy and is really heavy overall. So so sun enters Leo, Mercury conjunct Venus on the 25th. That's not the same as Kazemi, but it is kind of a nice-ish day in the middle of the retrograde. If you see, though, Mercury has now, in fact, by the 27th, Mercury goes back to where the full moon eclipse was. Okay. And so something from those eclipses is going to come up or can be in the news or be revealed. Okay. When Mercury goes back to that degree, I would say. Venus joins the sun in Leo on the 28th. So again, lightening up, more partying kind of thing, more playfulness, not partying. Let's play, not party. I don't advise anybody to go to crazy parties this year, really, or to, if anybody's into those kind of things. I would encourage everybody to kind of just stay out of very heightened situations this year, because it just is all very crazy. 30th of July, we're going to finish with that because the sun squares Uranus over there in, is it the 30th or is it late on the 29th? It's later on the 29th for us in the US. The sun will square Uranus. And that's another volatile thing. It's a square, Leo to Taurus. I wouldn't be surprised with all these Leo to Taurus squares with Mars involved and the sun and Uranus involved. There could be literal earthquakes and things as well. So again, it's just a month to for the pause, as Barbara said, focus on your family, focus on, joy and nurturing and loving and caring and compassion, and really kind of keep your heads down a little bit. And just so you know, I do want to say before I kind of sign off, but have we got any kind of more general questions? I do want to say I don't mind people asking, as long as you don't mind me saying no if it's my boundaries. I'm not offended by the ask. I just, if it's a no, it's a no. So it's all good. No apologies. Just say I say no. So if there's any more general questions, I apologize for the mix-up on the links and things. It's kind of a crazy week to even do one of these calls. You love all the retrogrades. I don't mind them, actually. I don't mind being asked to. I'm quite happy to move into my inner world and do all this reflection and revisiting and returning to. I'm really happy to kind of move into, just not for airplane travel. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Unless you have to, I've got some amazing, wacky stories of Mercury retrograde travel, but they're not the end of the world either. They were not. They were inconvenient, but not the end of the world as well. So But no, I'll be staying home this summer. I've loved having my visitors, but I'm glad it's just me and my family now. And we're planning a family trip later in the summer, just us four, for probably the last time ever, before we have to take their partners with us or go without the kids, being as they're 19 and almost 22 now. But I really think it's a summer for family, home, whatever family is. Okay. Emergency stop on the way to West Coast for 4 hours due to 4 overflowing laboratories on Mercury retrograde. Yeah. Oh well, I won't tell you my stories. One was an alternator in on the July the 4th in not a very good area of LA. That was very we had to stand there in the baking heat waiting for AAA, and there's more. But anyway, yeah. But and when I say family, if you don't have a birth family that you live with, it's family of choice as well, and it's also yourself. You are your own parent as well. So it's really definitely a time to kind of pull in the shell a little bit, pull it down, get in there, and really kind of, just do things that make you feel good. Is very Cancer, that nurture you. Oh, by Star, sorry, I'll put it on the recording, but okay, everybody. Hopefully next month we will not have links that don't work and stuff like that, but it's all good and it's all recorded. So I'll get the recording up and I will see you all later in the group. Thank you for being here. Bye.